Okay, Lions lose to the Bills on Thanksgiving, 28-25. And yeah, they stared down a Super Bowl favorite, and they lost by a whisker. Does any of that the battle yesterday, does any of it matter? And that brings us to the term moral victory, which I know people find highly offensive. And I'll tell you how I look at that term, moral victory. I don't look at it as something to be proud of. I don't look at it as something to celebrate. I don't look at it as something that's an achieved goal. But when I do think of that term, for me, here's what I think of. That a game that shows you actually are a good football team regardless of the result. Okay? Where throughout the course of the game, like during the game, Tony Romo said at one point, the Detroit Lions are for real regardless of how this turns out. And I thought, that's interesting, Tony. And I wondered how the average Detroit Lion fan felt about that. The Detroit Lions are for real regardless of how the game turns out. Dan Campbell said after the game, I still felt growth today. Did they show that they're a good football team even in a loss? Because as I said earlier, when the guy called and talked about, still seeing promise, we've had so many signs of promise or accumulated so many moral victories historically that haven't amounted to anything. And what I think for the individual, like for me, for Kenny who's behind the glass, or any of you out there that's a Lions fan or paid attention to the Lions for a long time, whether you're a fan or not, it comes down to your ability to reset the clock to zero every time there's a new regime. If you can do that, you can find promise in a loss. You can see a game and go, well, you know what? They lost the game, but I like the way they played. Not everything was perfect. They made some mistakes. They made some catastrophic mistakes. But overall, the Bills escaped Detroit with a win. And again, I don't want a shirt that says so. I don't want to celebrate. I was mad after the game. But is it indicative of a step forward? And I'm allowing myself to consider that in the 3 wins in a row where they got the wins and they showed some promise, yesterday they did not get the win, but they did a lot of the same things that made it look like they might actually finish this season with a bunch of wins. Do I think yesterday was a step backwards? I do not. I do not think yesterday was a step backwards. Was yesterday a bit of a blown opportunity? Yes. Was it a step forward? No. I don't think it was a step backwards, nor do I think it was a step forward. I think it was what it was. It was a Lions team that played well enough to win the game, and they still found a way to lose, but maybe more so the Bills found a way to win. And the Lions could have done some small stuff and some big stuff to win the damn game. And some of it was out of their control, and some of it was well within their control. What I mean by that is sometimes the other guy just makes a play. If the idea that late in that game, the Bills put together a couple scoring drives, primarily taking advantage of superior talent in their pass game. Like the Lions pass rush didn't get home enough when it needed to. And you know what that was? Josh Allen creating time with his feet. And the Lions secondary couldn't slow down pretty damn good pair of receivers and a tight end. Like there was a play that, remember that throw Josh Allen had to the sidelines to Knox? I think it just sailed over, was it Juju Hughes? Just out of his reach. Tiny little window, and he delivered the ball, and that was incredible. It was an incredible throw. And it's not like the Lions blew the coverage. We're mere inches away, but I look at that and go, that guy made a play. That 30-yarder to start their last drive to Stephon Diggs was a hell of a play. Now, I'd be intrigued to hear what Aaron Glenn had to say about that play, if the Lions specifically did anything wrong. But when they need to go downfield, you know what you have to do? You have to pressure the quarterback. You have to have him run out of time, because those routes take time to develop. And he had the time, and he stepped up in the pocket, and he delivered. And I look at that more of them making a play and the Lions blowing it. Now, the Lions blow it on the 3rd and 1 play call. You can make a case. The Lions blow it on the roughing the passer. Yep. The Lions blow it when they missed a field goal. They did. But ultimately, I mean, that's the kind of game that's winnable. And with the personnel they have, again, not a huge step forward, but I don't think it's a step back either.